This SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, first, Masoud Pezeshkian says Iran will not bow to American piracy, even as signals point to a possible diplomatic breakthrough in the 10-week naval standoff.
In Gaza, at least 3 Palestinian officers were killed in an Israeli airstrike west of Gaza City, raising new fears over the fragile ceasefire with Israel.
In Europe, Spain prepares a massive evacuation of the virus-hit MV Honduras, with nearly 150 people set for isolation on arrival in Tenerife.
In the Philippines, the Department of Migrant Workers confirms 38 Filipino seafarers aboard the vessel are virus-free and under close monitoring.
In the Visayas, southern Leyte is placed under stable internal peace and security condition, now deemed free of communist terrorist influence.
In sports, Victor Wembanyama powers the San Antonio Spurs past the Minnesota Timberwolves, while the New York Knicks edged the Philadelphia 76ers to lead their series.
And the entertainment world, Jisoo of Blackpink faces criticism over claims of unreturned luxury fashion items after a recent shoot. I'm Federico Veloso.
And I'm Mikey Dennis Oliveira.
Newsline World starts now. First in the news, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has declared that Tehran will not bow to American piracy, even as both sides signal they are closer than ever to a diplomatic end to the 10-week conflict. Omar Fosuelo has more on this.
During a surprise visit to the Ministry of Industry in Tehran on Thursday, President Masoud Pezeshkian struck a balance between wartime defiance and diplomatic pragmatism, addressing a nation weary of the U.S. naval blockade and recent airstrikes. Pezeshkian asserted that Iran seeks no special treatment, only its legal rights under international law. He accused the Trump administration of acting like pirates to incite domestic unrest, but claimed that national unity has thwarted plans to break the country apart. The president's address comes at a critical juncture. Washington and Tehran are reportedly reviewing a concise, one-page understanding intended to halt hostilities. President Trump noted on Wednesday that negotiations are going smoothly, while the Iranian Foreign Ministry confirmed they are preparing a formal response to be delivered via Pakistani mediators.
ما یه راه داریم، یا مردم رو بپذیریم و با مردم باشیم، یا باید تسلیم بشیم و سرخم بکنیم. ما با مردم میمانیم و سرخم نمیکنیم. چیزی از این دنیا نمیخوایم. ما چیزی از این آمریکا، ما حق قانونی که در چارچوب‌های قوانین بین المللی رو میخوایم. هیچی خارج از اون نمیخوایم عمل کنیم. دنیا راست میگه با ما بر اساس قوانین بین المللی برخورد بکنه.
In a notable shift in domestic optics, Pezeshkian also spoke at length about a recent 2.5-hour meeting with Iran's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, describing the leader as sincere and humble. Pezeshkian signaled that the government and the clerical establishment are in lockstep regarding the peace talks.
تصورشون این بود مردم خواهند اومد خیابونا و این حکومت ساقط خواهد شد و مملکت هم علنا میگن تیکه تیکه بکنن. با همدیگه این راه رو خواهیم رفت. من خدمت رهبر عزیزم رسیدیم. نزدیک 2 ساعت و نیم هم خدمتشون گفتگو داشتیم. اولا باید خدمت شما بگم نگاه ایشون، نوع برخورد ایشون واقعا یه انسانی بود.
While Pezeshkian urged citizens to conserve energy to support producers during the wartime economy, the focus remains on the Islamabad channel, with the U.S. Project Freedom on a temporary pause, and the Epic Fury offensive declared over the next 48 hours are seen as the final window to prevent a return to high-intensity bombing. Reported for Newsline World, Almar Forsuelo, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, Trump has issued a blunt ultimatum to Iran, warning of one big blow coming out of the Tehran if the final nuclear agreement is not reached. The stark warning follows a violent naval confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz. This report from Paul Montibon.
The Strait of Hormuz became a flashpoint once again as three U.S. Navy destroyers transiting the waterway came under fire from Iranian drones, missiles, and fast attack boats. U.S. President Trump confirmed the engagement during a press briefing in Washington, asserting that U.S. forces blew them away in a decisive defensive action.
Still on.
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
Trump described a chaotic scene in the strait, claiming every Iranian drone and missile was intercepted. He also noted that an Iranian tanker had its rudder shut out during the skirmish, leaving the vessel spinning in circles to avoid a total environmental disaster. While direct talks in Islamabad recently ended without a signature, Trump claimed that nuclear negotiations are progressing, though he emphasized that the pain of a collapsed deal would fall solely on Tehran. The U.S. has extended the ceasefire deadline to submit a unified proposal.
The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain. They're going to have a lot of pain. They want to sign it, I will tell you. They want to sign it a lot more than I do.
For God and my country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
At least 3 Palestinian officers were killed on Thursday in an Israeli airstrike west of Gaza City, raising fresh concerns over the stability of the October 2025 ceasefire. Prince Tripoli will give us the details.
Ambulances raced to Al-Shifa Hospital Thursday morning following an Israeli strike on a police security post near Gaza City's Hayder roundabout. Witnesses described a massive explosion that leveled tents in a nearby displacement camp without prior warning. Paramedics confirmed the deaths of 3 Palestinian officers, while several displaced civilians, including women and children, were treated for shrapnel wounds. This latest incident is part of a troubling trend. Despite the formal truce signed last October, violence remains a daily reality. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, the total death toll since the conflict began in October 2023 past 72,800, while a formal truce has been in place since last year. Al Jazeera reports that Israel has conducted over 2,400 military operations in that period, claiming it must act against imminent threats and militant attempts to regroup.
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي قبل قليل قام باستهداف نقطة للشرطة المدنية. هذا الاستهداف لحد هددين وعدد من المصابين، غالبية المصابين من المدنيين من الأطفال والنساء. الاحتلال الإسرائيلي لم يوقف إطلاق النار نهائيا. يوميا هناك شهداء من الأطفال والنساء بسبب هذا الاستهداف الهمجي. الاحتلال يحاول الكذب على العالم من خلال وقف إطلاق النار. لم يتم إيقاف وقف إطلاق النار نهائيا.
The escalation comes as U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff navigates the second phase of President Trump's 20-point peace plan. Central to this phase is the newly formed Board of Peace, an international body tasked with overseeing Gaza's reconstruction and the decommissioning of Hamas weaponry. However, the board recently signaled it would not hold Israel of the October disarmament frameworks.
ولا انذار ولا حدا بدوش انذار لحدا على طول كتر ضربوا يعني لو في 10 انفار هان الحمد لله ان كان الاولاد كانوا عندهم امتحانات لو في 10 انفار كانوا كتلوا كله ما اشوف قديش حدا انضمر وشظايا احنا ما عملناش حاجه احنا ما لناش علاقه بالحرب هذه اصلا احنا مسلمين يعني.
While phase 2 envisions a gradual Israeli withdrawal and the formation of a technocratic administration, the reality on the ground remains a stalemate. As family in Gaza City sift through the rubble of Thursday's strike, the Board of Peace faces a mounting challenge, persuading a displaced and grieving population that a transition to reconstruction is possible, while the sounds of drones and missiles continue to fill the air. Reporting from Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
Senior officials from China and the United States met in Beijing to discuss bilateral ties and global stability amid growing tensions in the Middle East. Jane Kodnita has the news.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and U.S. Senator Steve Daines met in Beijing to call for stability amid growing tensions in the Middle East. Central to the discussions was the urgent need for global stability, particularly as both nations grapple with the impact of ongoing volatility in the Middle East and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Wang Yi emphasized the importance of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation in managing China-U.S. relations.
China-U.S. relations concern the well-being of the peoples of both countries and also affect stability around the world. China's policy toward the United States has been consistent. I have always believed that the two sides should take mutual respect as the foundation, peaceful coexistence as the principle, and win-win cooperation as the goal. Together, we should explore a correct way for two major countries to get along and together make contributions to world peace and stability.
Senator Steve Daines, a key Trump ally and member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, echoed the sentiment, emphasizing that de-escalation, not decoupling, is a priority for the American delegation.
I've watched the remarkable progress that you have made in transforming your economy into now the second largest economy in the world. I very much appreciate the points you just made, the importance of mutual respect, of peaceful cooperation, of stability. We seek the same outcomes.
The meeting comes ahead of a possible summit involving Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump as concerns grow over instability in the Gulf region. It also touched on hardline issues including trade, fentanyl precursors, and the potential for new Boeing aircraft orders. However, the shadow of the upcoming May 14th summit loomed large. Both sides signaled interest in maintaining dialogue as geopolitical tensions continue to impact global markets and diplomacy. This has been Jane Coniter, Global Citizen Correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Ecuador has officially strengthened its Pacific defenses with the incorporation of a new multi-purpose naval vessel donated by South Korea. Kai Villan has the details.
Formerly the Korean Coast Guard's Tae Pyongyang is now the centerpiece of Ecuador's maritime security strategy. Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa, currently in his second term, personally inspected the 105-meter vessel during its official handover in Salinas. Built and donated by South Korea, the ship arrived after a 2-month trans-Pacific journey, including a strategic stop in Pearl Harbor. It is designed to act as a floating fortress against organized crime, carrying a crew of 137 and capable of staying at sea for 45 days without resupply. The donation is more than just military aid. South Korean officials at the ceremony recalled Ecuador's support during the Korean War, when the country sent tons of rice and medicine despite its own earthquake recovery. Noboa emphasized that this partnership is vital as Ecuador battles an unprecedented surge in maritime drug trafficking, with cartels increasingly using Pacific routes to reach Europe and the US.
Cada paso que damos tiene un propósito claro, que los ecuatorianos vuelvan a vivir con tranquilidad y con esperanza firme de que este país sí tiene futuro. Hoy esa lucha se convierte en acciones concretas. Corea del Sur se suma como un nuevo aliado más en esta lucha contra la inseguridad, sumando el buque Jambelí a nuestras fuerzas.
South Korean officials also attended the ceremony. The country's ambassador to Ecuador, Shin Jae-yu, said the vessel would support Ecuador's efforts to combat drug trafficking and illegal fishing.
Estoy convencido de que Bahía Jambelí contribuirá de manera significativa a la lucha contra el narcotráfico y la pesca ilegal, especialmente en la región de Galápagos, apoyando así los esfuerzos del gobierno ecuatoriano.
The Jambelí will be tasked with patrolling the vast waters between the Ecuadorian mainland and the Galapagos. Beyond law enforcement, the vessel will provide critical logistical support to remote coastal communities and lead search and rescue operations in the volatile Pacific waters. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMA News.
Up next, Spain prepares a mass evacuation of the virus-hit MV Honduras, with nearly 150 people set for isolation on arrival in Tenerife. The Department of Migrant Workers confirms 38 Filipino seafarers aboard the vessel are virus-free and under close monitoring. And southern Leyte is placed under a stable internal peace and security condition, now deemed free of communist terrorist influence. More news when Newsline World returns.
For years, Sunshine Media Network International has remained committed to delivering truth that matters. Anchored on the principles of responsible journalism, the network prioritizes facts, clarity, and information that truly matters to the public. SMNI provides a platform for voices that are often unheard, stories that deserve attention, and issues that demand understanding. Public service and national interest remain at the heart of every broadcast. Through consistent reporting and meaningful programming, SMNI continues to strengthen credibility and build public trust. This commitment to truthful and relevant reporting has not gone unnoticed. Over the years, SMNI has received various awards and recognitions from different institutions and organizations. These honors highlight the network's contributions to public service, broadcasting excellence, and nation-oriented programming. Recognition stands as a testament to SMNI's dedication to responsible journalism and meaningful storytelling. More importantly, these accolades reflect the confidence and trust placed by the public and partner institutions. Guiding this mission is the vision of the network's honorary chairman, Pastor Apollo C. Kibaloy. His leadership underscores the belief that media can be a powerful force for nation building. Under this vision, SMNI promotes unity, moral values, and responsible citizenship among Filipinos. Programs are designed not only to inform, but also to inspire and empower communities. Because for SMNI, the mission goes beyond broadcasting. It is about contributing to the progress of the nation. This commitment to service extends beyond the television screen. Through the SMNI Foundation, the network implements humanitarian and community outreach initiatives across the country. Programs provide assistance to communities, children, and families in need, bringing help where it matters most. SMNI also works hand-in-hand with its partner organizations, including the Sunshine Philippines Movement, the Keepers Club International, and the Children's Joy Foundation Incorporated. Together, these organizations promote volunteerism, compassion, and social responsibility. Their programs demonstrate SMNI's commitment to real public service, turning advocacy into action. SMNI, delivering truth that matters for nation building.
Spanish authorities have detailed a massive multinational repatriation effort to isolate and evacuate nearly 150 people from the virus-stricken MV Honduras upon its arrival in Tenerife this Sunday. Virgil Parvel will give us an update.
At a high-level briefing in Madrid on Friday, Spanish health and civil protection officials sought to calm public fears arrival of the MV Honduras. Director General of Public Health Pedro Gullon confirmed that the current hantavirus outbreak involves 8 linked cases, 3 deaths, and 5 symptomatic patients. Crucially, Gullon noted that none of these 8 individuals are currently on the ship, having already been medically evacuated to South Africa or the Netherlands. To ensure zero contact with the local population in Canary Islands, Spain has designed an airtight corridor. Once the ship docks at the secondary port of Granadilla de Abono on Sunday, it will undergo a rigorous health inspection. Asymptomatic passengers will be moved directly from the ship to guarded, isolated vehicles and then to fenced-off area of Tenerife South Airport for immediate departure.
Van a llegar a una zona que está completamente aislada y perimetrada, se van a montar en vehículos que están aislados y custodiados y van a llegar a una zona del aeropuerto que va a estar controlada, se van a montar, se van a ir. Esto para que los hombres y mujeres que están en Canarias tengan la absoluta tranquilidad de que no va a haber en ningún momento ninguna posibilidad de contacto.
The operations triggered a massive diplomatic response involving 23 nations. The United States and Great Britain have already confirmed they will send dedicated charter flights to retrieve their citizens. For other nations, including France, Germany, and the Philippines, which has the largest crew contingent of 38 repatriation, is being coordinated through the European Civil Protection Mechanism and the Dutch government as the ship flies the Netherlands flag.
Lo que nos encontramos aquí es una situación de un barco donde están produciendo contagios y que tenemos que manejar, pero en riesgo de población estamos hablando de un riesgo muy bajo y es importante que lo sepamos. Aún así, tenemos que tomar todas las medidas de control necesarias.
While 14 Spanish taken to the Gómez Ulla Military Hospital in Madrid for the WACDC continue to investigate the Andes variant found on board. While typically spread by rodents, the cluster of cases in the confined cruise environment has authorities treating the possibility of rare human-to-human transmission with extreme caution. The ship is expected to arrive at midday this Sunday. This has been Verhil Parba, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Meanwhile, the Department of Migrant Workers has assured the public that 38 Filipino crew members aboard the cruise ship MV Honduras remain safe and virus-free. Prince Tripoli tells us more.
In a press briefing, Migrant Workers Secretary Hansel Kakda confirmed that none of the Filipino seafarers on board the MV Honduras have shown symptoms of hantavirus. Reports from the ship's owner and the manning agency indicate that the outbreak was confined to the passenger decks. Tragically, 3 passengers have died from suspected infections, while a 4th remains hospitalized. Secretary Kakda clarified that no crew members, Filipino or otherwise, were among the casualties or the infected.
Based on the last report, pinayagan silang magdaong sa Canary Islands with the 38 Filipino crew on board. All 38 Filipino crew have reportedly not been afflicted. Okay? Hindi sila nadapuan ng hantavirus. However, we continue to monitor their situation.
The Department of Migrant Workers is now working closely with Health Secretary Tedros Rosa and the World Health Organization to ensure strict adherence to international safety standards. While the ship has been granted permission to dock, the timeline for the 38 Filipinos' return home remains uncertain. Before they can fly back to the Philippines, the crew must undergo rigorous medical clearances, quarantine periods, and standard health protocols to prevent any potential spread of the virus. At this stage, there is no detailed information on whether the Filipino crew has undergone specific diagnostic testing for the virus. However, the DMW maintains that based on the latest medical records available from the ship, the seafarers have not been infected.
Rest assured, there will be proper medical protocols. Yeah, let's put it that way. They will just have to go through the proper medical clearances and protocols before they can safely return home. So yun muna siguro ang antabayanan natin. In the same manner that all the other countries involved here, the governments of those other nationalities on board will have to observe the proper protocols para hindi kumalat itong virus.
The Philippine government is also maintaining constant communication with the families of the 38 seafarers to provide necessary assistance and updates. MV Honduras remains at anchor near the Canary Islands as health officials finalize their inspections. Reporting from Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMN News.
Meanwhile, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. called for stronger cooperation during the special BMIP IAGA Summit held in Cebu Province. Meanwhile, leaders from member states gathered today, May 8, for the official opening of the 48th ASEAN Summit. Eileen Navarro reports.
As the ASEAN Summit and related meetings continue in Cebu, ASEAN leaders reaffirmed their commitment to strengthen regional cooperation and advance shared priorities for the ASEAN community. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. led the opening of the special Brunei, Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines East ASEAN Growth Area or BIM-IAGA Summit in Cebu on May 7, 2026. In his opening statement, Marcos said the summit serves as an important opportunity to further strengthen the partnership among BIM-IAGA member countries and promote wider opportunities for people across the sub-region. According to Marcos Jr., the BIM-IAGA Vision 2035 is aligned with ASEAN's broader goals of economic integration and sustainable development.
This vision is not merely a roadmap for economic integration for people, that development will be meaningful, sustainable, and felt in their daily lives.
The summit also tackled key programs and projects aimed at improving livelihoods, connectivity, and opportunities in the region's growth areas. The president also urged participants to turn plans and visions into concrete action in order to achieve a more connected, resilient, and prosperous BIM-IAGA for future generations. The welcoming and opening ceremony of the 40th ASEAN Summit today formally opened high-level discussions among regional leaders under the Philippine chairship. The gathering aims to advance key regional priorities and further strengthen cooperation among ASEAN member states. Leaders highlighted the importance of unity and collaboration in addressing major issues affecting the region, including economic resilience and regional stability. Moreover, ASEAN leaders convened for the 40th ASEAN Summit plenary to hold in-depth discussions on the region's key priorities, including economic resilience, regional stability, and stronger cooperation among member states. The plenary session underscored the leaders' shared commitment to align regional strategies, strengthen unity, and pursue concrete initiatives that will benefit communities across ASEAN as the region moves forward together. More activities are underway amid the ASEAN Summit here in Cebu. This includes a press briefing with the chairperson of the Mindanao Development Authority. Overall, the ASEAN Summit aims to address key regional concerns while promoting unity, stability, and inclusive growth across Southeast Asia. For God and my beloved Philippines, Eileen Navarro, SMNI News.
An historic milestone for the as the province is officially declared under a stable internal peace and security condition, or SIPSC. The declaration signifies that the province is now categorized as free from the influence and threats of communist terrorist groups. Almar Forsuelo is back for more news.
The province of Southern Leyte is officially declared under a stable internal peace and security condition, also known as The declaration was formalized through a ceremonial signing of a Memorandum of Understanding at the Provincial Gymnasium in Maasin City. Leading the event were Governor Damian Mercado, along with high-ranking military officials, including Major General Peter Borgonio of the 8th Infantry Division and Brigadier General Pompeo Jason Almagro of the 82nd Infantry Brigade. The status was officially ratified through Sangguniang Panlalawigan Resolution Number 396, Series of 2026. Governor Mercado emphasized that this newfound stability is a green light the province needs to attract major international and local investors. The governor also extended his gratitude to the Philippine Army for their unwavering support and vital role in achieving peace across the province against rebel groups. Meanwhile, the commander of the 8th Infantry Division expressed his own thanks to the local government units for their cooperation and commitment to the shared goals of peace and progress in the region. The official also took a moment to recognize the immense sacrifices made by those in the security sector and the local community in defending the province against communist groups. For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forsuelo, SMNI News.
More than 75,000 flights worldwide have reportedly been canceled this summer as airlines struggle with soaring fuel prices linked to ongoing stability in the Middle East. This is according to aviation analytics firm Cirium. The data paints a grim picture from the summer travel season. Cirium reports that in just a 10-day period between late April and early May, airlines worldwide removed over 9 million seats from their schedules. The primary driver is the skyrocketing cost of jet fuel, which has doubled since the escalation of conflict in the Middle East and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The biggest shock comes from the United States. Spirit Airlines, once a giant in the budget travel sector, officially ceased all operations last Saturday. The shutdown came after Trump administration's proposed $500 million federal bailout package fell through as key bondholders opt for liquidation over reorganization. Spirit alone accounted for roughly 70% of total seats removed from global schedules, canceling 33,000 flights and leaving its entire fleet grounded. The aviation sector is closely monitoring developments in global energy markets with concerns that prolonged instability could further affect international travel and tourism.
When we return, Victor Wembanyama powers the San Antonio Spurs past the Minnesota Timberwolves, while the New York Knicks edge the Philadelphia 76ers to lead their series. And Ji Sod of Blackpink faces criticism over the claims of unreturned luxury fashion items after the recent shoot. And more news after the break.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo, once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities. His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
Taon-taon, kwento sa bawat kwento. Katotohanan sa bawat katotohanan. Mula pa sa pasimula, malinaw ang aming misyon. Magbigay ng tamang impormasyon. Maglantad ng katotohanan. Manindigan. Sa lahat ng oras, lalo na kinakailangan. Hindi lang minsang kinilala, kundi muli at muli. Sa likod ng bawat pagkilala ay katotohanang naibahagi. Isang tinig na narinig, isang katotohanang umabot sa bawat Pilipino. Sa kabila ng nagbabagong panahon, sa kabila ng mga pagsubok, nananatili ang aming paninindigan. Ang pundasyon namin ay katotohanan. Ang lakas namin ay tiwala ng mamamayang Pilipino sa loob at labas ng bansa. Maraming salamat po. SMNI, para sa Diyos at sa Pilipinas nating mahal.
Sa ingay, sa panahon ng maraming tanong, panahon na para marinig ang katotohanan.
Sa totoo lang, ano ba talaga ang nangyayari sa ating bansa?
At sa totoo lang, handa ba tayong harapin ang katotohanan?
Sa totoo lang,
dito walang iwasan,
walang paligoy-ligoy,
diretsong usapan.
Sa totoo lang.
Sa SMNI.
Back in the news, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and U.S. President Donald Trump have signaled a surprisingly positive shift in bilateral relations, agreeing to immediate talks on trade and tariffs despite ongoing disagreements over regional conflicts. This report from Joy Tabanao.
The much-anticipated face-to-face between President Donald Trump and Brazil's Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva took place Thursday, marking a pivot from months of diplomatic friction. Following the 3-hour meeting, Trump took to social media to praise the very dynamic Brazilian leader, confirming that the session was a success and that high-level representatives will soon meet to hammer out key elements of their trade relationship. Despite the chemistry described by both sides, the summit did not bridge the gap on military policy. Lula remains a staunch critic of the U.S. intervention in Iran, presenting Trump with a copy of the 2010 nuclear agreement Brazil brokered with Tehran. He urged patience and persuasion over bellicose action, warning that the humanitarian costs of a wider conflict would be far greater than Washington imagines.
Olha, o Trump não vai mudar o jeito dele ser por causa de uma reunião que durou 3 horas comigo. O que eu fiz questão de dizer para ele é o que eu penso das coisas que eu acho que podem ser feitas. Eu acredito muito mais no diálogo do que na guerra. Eu acho que a invasão do Irã ela vai causar mais prejuízo do que ele está imaginando. Mas tem várias suposições. Ele acha que a guerra já acabou. Não é o real. Mas ele acha, sabe, ficar brigando com ele por causa da visão que ele tem da guerra.
Economic issues, particularly Trump's tariff agenda, were a central pillar of the talks. Brazil currently faces a $14 billion trade deficit with the U.S., prompting Lula to propose a working group to review tax structures within 30 days. Both leaders expressed a willingness to continue the dialogue, with more meetings scheduled over the coming months to address critical minerals and transnational crime.
A nossa relação é muito boa, mas muito boa. Eu digo que pouca gente acreditava que pudesse acontecer com tanta rapidez. Que sabe aquela história, amor à primeira vista, aquele negócio da química, é isso que aconteceu. Eu espero que continue assim. Se ele tentou interferir nas eleições brasileiras, ele perdeu. Porque eu ganhei as eleições. Boa política, presidente de outro país ficar interferindo nas eleições de outros países.
As Lula departs Washington, the focus shifts to whether this newfound chemistry can survive the hardline trade negotiations ahead. For now, both capitals are celebrating a cordial reset that few experts believed possible just a week ago. This has been Joy Tabanao, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Meanwhile, hundreds of Venezuelan workers and union leaders marched near the United States Embassy, urging Trump to pressure the interim immediate electoral wage increase. For more news.
The streets of Caracas saw a massive mobilization as representatives from unions and professionals from Las Mercedes Square to the U.S. Embassy and dignity. The activation of Article 91 of the Constitution, which mandates that the minimum wage will be tied to the cost of the basic food basket. The protest comes just a week after acting President Delcy Rodriguez, who has led the country since the U.S. military operation Absolute Resolve resulted in the capture of Nicolas Maduro in January, announced a 26% hike in the comprehensive minimum income. While the package reached $240 per month, it is largely composed of bonuses, leaving the base salary at a mere 30 cents. Labor leaders slammed the move as a voting it fails to cover even a third of the 600 needed for a family of.
Y hoy marchamos hacia la embajada decirle al presidente Trump que nosotros no estamos felices. Yo no estoy feliz. Yo no quiero un salario de 0,26. Eso no es felicidad. un salario, como lo dice el artículo 91 de la que es igual a la canasta básica, Lo que necesitamos, trabajamos, la administración pública, los pensionados y los jubilados.
The march reached the U.S. Embassy, where the National Union Coalition delivered a formal petition to security officials. Beyond economic relief, the primary demand was a definitive timeline for presidential elections. Despite being in office for over 100 days, acting President Rodriguez has remained non-committal on a date, recently telling reporters an election would happen someday.
Mira, lo que vamos a pedir en la Embajada de Estados Unidos es precisamente eso, que se respete el venezolano de ser logra eso unas elecciones. O el mundo entero protestamos nosotros hasta el 30 de abril y Delcy Rodríguez lo que hizo fue darle $50 bonificados a la gente. O sea, ya no se... Esto pasó de un tema laboral a un tema social. Es el agua, es la salud, es la educación. Salario como prioridad hay que ver de materia laboral. Es la libertad.
While the Trump administration has helped facilitate Venezuela's return to the IMF and World Bank this month to unlock infrastructure funding, the protesters made it clear that financial aid alone won't solve what they describe as a ruralized and broken state. This has been Chad Benal, your global citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Sports, Paris Saint-Germain is headed back to UEFA final after surviving a tough challenge from Bayern Munich in the final clash. Meanwhile, victory powered the San Antonio Spurs to a commanding playoff win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, while the New York Knicks grabbed a hard-fought Philadelphia 76ers ahead in their series.
Defending champions Paris Saint-Germain secured their return to the Champions League final after holding Bayern Munich to a 1-1 draw in the second leg, enough for a 6-5 aggregate victory. Ousmane Dembélé struck early for PSG, finishing off a quick attacking move just 3 minutes into the match after being set up by Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. Needing goals to stay alive, Bayern pushed aggressively behind stars Harry Kane, Luis Diaz and Michael Olise, but PSG's defense stood firm for most of the match. Kane eventually found the equalizer in stoppage time, but it came too late to stop the French side from advancing. The result sends PSG into another European final where they will face Arsenal on May 30 after the English club eliminated Atletico in the other semi-final. PSG to successfully defend. Meanwhile, the San Antonio Spurs in a dominant fashion. So the Timberwolves playoff series at 1-1. Wembanyama was once again the centerpiece for San Antonio, finishing with 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 2 blocks as the Spurs controlled the game from the opening quarter. Minnesota struggled badly on offense, scoring just 35 first-half points as San Antonio built a massive halftime lead. The Spurs defense, anchored by Wembanyama's rim protection, limited the Timberwolves' scoring options and turned the game into a one-sided contest, with the lead stretching to as many as 47 points before the starters were rested. Minnesota star Anthony Edwards, who had impressed in Game 1 despite injury concerns, was limited to 12 points and sat out the final quarter. The series Minnesota for Game 3. Eastern Conference, the New York Knicks narrow 108-102 win over the Philadelphia 76ers to take a 2-0 series lead. Jalen Bronson led the Knicks in crunch time, scoring 8 points in the fourth quarter as way late in a tightly contested game that featured 25 lead changes. Karl Anthony Towns delivered a strong all-around performance with 20 points, 10 assists, while OG Anunoby added 24 points for New York. Philadelphia, playing without injured star Joel Embiid, stayed competitive behind Tyrese Maxey's 26 points, but struggled to close out in the final minutes as the Knicks finished on a decisive run to seal the win. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
Turning now to the K-pop world, where we have two very different stories involving some of the industry's biggest stars. From a health ET dispute involving a Blackpink member, Agustin has the latest updates.
C leader Yeji is facing a physical setback. Her agency, JYP Entertainment, confirmed on May 5 that the singer has been diagnosed with a herniated. The diagnosis of a medical examination experienced persistent lower back pain. Doctors have officially advised her to miss activity. While she won't be stepping away from the stage entirely, JYP says her performances will be adjusted to limit excessive movement during her recovery. Despite the condition, the agency said the ITZY member plans to continue participating in scheduled activities with adjustments to her stage performances. Fans have since expressed support and well wishes for Yeji's recovery as the group continues its promotions. Meanwhile, Blackpink's Jisoo is at the center of an online debate involving a high-end wardrobe. Belgian Benjamin Voortmans, founder of Judas Sim, recently alleged in a video that several items loaned for Jesus' album photoshoot have not been returned 6 months after they were sent to South Korea. The claims quickly circulated online, sparking debate among fans and social media users responsibility management during celebrity shoots. The video has since been deleted, but not before sparking a massive conversation for wardrobe management during these high-profile shoots. Neither Jisoo nor her agency have commented on the claims yet. The issue has fueled further discussion in the entertainment industry about handling designer pieces loaned for high-profile fashion and promotional projects. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the sun. No matter who you are or whatever circumstances in your life, there is always things to be grateful for.
And that's all for today's edition of Newsline World. I'm Mike Dennis Oliveira.
And I'm Federico Veloso. Thank you.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.